Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome back to Mary Elizabeth Jones Friday Hour.
Part 2.
Part 2.
The most famous part 2 since 2 Corinthians. Oh man. So I'm looking forward to a lot of things going on this month. This is April, so I have a birthday month. It's also going to run on the 20th, April 20th, in the 10K.
Yeah.
And I do that every year. It's the longest hour of my year.
Yeah.
And every time I do it, I'm pretty much the first 50 feet into it. I said, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But, you know.
And I'm doing a show.
Doing a show.
Yes.
Doing a couple of shows, aren't you?
I'm doing one show this month and the other one next month.
Okay. The first show is what?
Is the Enchanted Bookshop.
Oh, the Enchanted Bookshop. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And I will be doing the something else. Listen. I got to tell you something. I try to be a smart guy. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
I try to be a smart guy, and there's going to be like a trivia contest coming up, and I'm going to. I'm sort of like the Ted Williams or the Joe DiMaggio of trivia contests.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wants me on their team, which puts a lot of pressure on me because a lot of these questions I don't know. I'm watching Jeopardy lately, a Tournament of Champions. I can barely get 2 or 3 questions out. There was a time. I'll give you a good example of that. So I'm going to do that this month at one of the museums, I think the Virginia Museum. But I got to tell you, like, they'll have like music questions on like name that tune.
Oh yeah.
I used to be I knew all the songs. Now I don't know any of the songs. I might know something from the Motown era, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And they'll have on shows like Jeopardy or any of these game shows, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I don't know. The NASCAR questions. There's a British version of Jeopardy now, and it has Stephen Fry playing the Alex Trebek character.
Oh, okay.
And I'm watching it, and they ask all these questions about soccer and then Irish rules football and stuff like that. And I don't know any of the winners. I don't know a lot of politicians. The member of parliament from this area, or So I don't know any. And then every once in a while they'll ask an American question, like who was the Speaker of the House, and I would know that, but I'm surprised the people in England on the game show would know it. In fact, a lot of these shows are from Europe. Jeopardy is actually from America, but I think Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is from England. America's Got Talent used to be Britain's Got Talent. I think American Idol used to be British Idol, So, but there was a movie Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
Where that game show was very important in that show, and my joke was why it was made in India, because why is Regis Philbin look like he's an Indian? So anyway, I've been let's see, I've been watching. I got some good news. I got my car inspected. And I got a clean bill of health, which is good. And then nothing makes you happier than to get a clean bill of health.
Yeah.
When you go to your doctor or when you go to your car mechanic.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. So that was good.
Yeah.
I got once you get that, you're good for the whole, pretty much for a week. Oh gosh, I could drive with impunity now.
Okay.
But that was earlier this week, and now I'm just living off the fat of the land.
Okay.
And what fat it is. I saw. And I've seen a lot of movies lately, and I'm not too crazy about most of what I've seen. They've kind of been boring. A lot, or they've been like these bloated remakes or sequels, like Marvel films or like new Ghostbusters movie. I didn't care for it at all. But then I saw this movie. It was so good. And it only played a week, and you might catch it. You probably will never see it in the theater again. You'll probably have to go see it on demand. It's called. And I tell people to go see this. It's called Asphalt City,
Oh.
and it's about EMTs in New York City, and it is something else. If you remember that movie Saving Private Ryan, the first like half hour of that movie is just all this screaming and shooting and violence and lights and flashing and water and it's just and you just cannot. In fact, I got so anxiety ridden watching the first 20 minutes in the theater of Saving Private Ryan. I said, "This is a 3 hour movie. Is this the whole movie going to be like this?" And luckily, after a half hour that part was over.
Yeah.
But this movie, this 2 hour movie about EMTs in New York, is that way the whole movie, and in the same sort of frenetic, sort of kinetic style to it. It's all like red lights, music, gunshots, dogs bark, babies crying, all at the same time, and the close-ups and cars racing, and it has a guy called Ty Sheridan, who's a up-and-coming actor right now, young actor. But the main star of it is he's his boss, Sean Penn. And Sean Penn is very good, and the movie is very good. So Asphalt, and it's very grim. There's not any humor in this movie. It's pretty serious movie, and it gives you some idea. Gosh, these people who drive ambulances and help people, and everything's a crisis. A building's on fire,
Wow.
and some of the images in this movie are truly. I will stick with me because I still can't get them out of my head. Some pretty graphic violence, but it's very realistic, the way it is now. Now I got to tell you about Sean Penn. Sean Penn was Sean Penn. He's won 2 Oscars. He was Madonna's husband. He was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and for some reason I never really cared for him that much.
Yeah.
But as he's gotten older, he's playing more. He's I'm getting kind of used to him, and he's actually a very good actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he does a lot of humanitarian work in Haiti and places like that.
Yeah.
He has questionable associates like in the day Hugo Chavez and that guy Chapo, the guy from the Medellin cartel. I think that's where he's working. Who was wanted by the police, and he was actually doing an interview with him and stuff. He was on 60 Minutes, Sean Penn, about that. So he's kind of a weird sort of guy. But lately, I saw him in a movie. I saw him in another movie where he played William Holden. It was called Licorice Pizza. It has a little bit of true. A lot of people are in this movie. Bradley Cooper is in it, and a few other people. I think Tom Waits, the singer, is in it, playing like a guy based on, I think, Sam Fuller. And in that scene, there's Sean Penn is playing William Holden, and he looks like William Holden. I noticed something else. There's certain actors I've noticed in movies lately. If you see them on the big screen, it used to be Walter Matthau. Then lately it was Tommy Lee Jones, and we see them on the big screen. And now Sean Penn. They're very wrinkled. And they're young guys. I mean, they weren't as old as they looked. But then I realized something about Hollywood is that so many people get facelifts that they're probably the last 3 guys, Walter Matthau, Tommy Lee Jones, and now Sean Penn, that don't get facelifts. So you actually see every crease in their foreheads and everything. And the life they live. Okay, and another thing. Let me tell you about Sean Penn was that he sort of the same thing happened to me with Robert Downey Jr. and John Travolta when they first started out in movies and they were starring in these kids, movies for children like Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
or whatever Robert Downey was in.
Yeah.
I usually co-starring parts. I said, they're pretty much lightweights. I'm not going to waste my time with these guys. But then their careers didn't do so well. And then while they were not doing so well, they started taking lots of parts that they were good at.
Mm-hmm.
And on their way back up, John Travolta made a comeback with the Pulp Fiction, and then And then the other guy, Robert Downey, just won an Oscar. So the talent was always there. And for some reason, when I saw them as in a supporting role with lots of other actors in it, I kind of looked forward to seeing their parts in the movie. When they starred in the movie, I didn't care for them. Some people are only good in small doses. I think they were good in small doses until they worked their way up to actually carrying a film at the best they can carry a film. They were carrying films when they probably were ill prepared. And I think the same with Sean Penn. Though Sean Penn, The Mystic River and Milk is very good. He was the star of those films. Now, I got to tell you about this movie I just saw. You can hardly find anything on the internet about this. It's called Gaslit. You see, what's her name? Julia Roberts on the front. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is actually something I lived through in the when I was a kid. It was gaslit. You probably know what the phrase means.
Yeah.
Gaslighting is from the movie Gaslight, Ingrid Bergman, and Charles Boyer, where her husband tried to convince his wife she was going crazy when actually he was plotting to murder her or steal all her money or something.
Yeah.
This in Watergate, there was this woman that Julie Roberts played called Martha Mitchell, and she was just spouting out. She was drunk a lot, and she was taking a lot of pills and smoking all the time, and like a lot of these guys were. And she was, shooting her mouth off all the time to reporters. Of course, reporters are going to listen. And she said what crooks were in the Nixon administration. So they actually, with the help of her husband, John Mitchell, they took her and put her pretty much kidnapped her and kept her prisoner in a hotel room until the heat was off. And they tried to convince her that she was crazy and tried to send her to a mental hospital and everything. There's something and that's called gaslighting. That's now called gaslight. That's why the name of the show is Gaslight. And there's something called the Martha Mitchell effect, which means it basically means gaslighting, convincing somebody that they're crazy when they're not, when they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so it was all about Watergate, this movie. And Martha Mitchell, played by Julia Roberts, she looks pretty much the same with little old age makeup and make her hair a little older, but she's still recognizable as Julia Roberts. Now, Sean Penn doesn't look at all like his typical self. He's wearing a bald head and a big neck, a turkey neck, and but he looks exactly like the real life guy that played her husband. That was her husband, John Mitchell. And all these guys went to jail, and and there was one guy. But the most interesting part about this movie is not anything with them in it, but there's this guy called G. Gordon Liddy, and he became very famous after Watergate. He went to jail for 4 years, and I met him in Petersburg at the Petersburg Forum when he was long out of jail, and he was quite hilarious, telling jokes and talking about the days of living. And he became an actor on Miami Vice, I think he had a TV series. He was in movies, and he actually that actually did well did all these other guys you never heard from again, but he actually became more popular. You see him in jail. This guy, G. Gordon Liddy, the character playing him, he's dead now. But the character playing him in jail in the 1970s, and you see him in the hole. You see him. His place is he bites a guy's ear off, and then he has to go into the hole, and then he has to, and then there are rats all in that. The hole is the cell, the solitary confinement. And I know this prison jargon quite well. and that was I wish I would have known all of that when I met him in the 1990s.
Wow.
But I only found this out like a week ago. He always regaled us on his radio show in the 1990s. He regaled us with tales from the big house because he loved talking about how tough he was. While the other guys went to country club prisons, he actually went to a pretty tough one. He was always in fights. He was a lawyer, so he was a jailhouse lawyer. He was able to help other prisoners. He was there for like 4 years. All these guys got 30-year sentences, but they'll never believe it when the judge gives you a long sentence, even a life sentence. Probably in a year or so you'll be out.
Yeah.
So that's the movie Gaslit.
Yes.
So and it stars Sean Penn and this other movie. Just in the same week, I saw them both. Gaslit is a miniseries, so it's 8 hours long. It's 8 1-hour episodes,
Yeah.
and it was on the Stars network. It's not on HBO or Max or any of those, so it's a little harder to find. In fact, I couldn't find anything about it, and yet it was so good. It was so good because anything about Watergate is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me when I was living in Europe. Nixon had just, had resigned maybe about 5 years or so earlier. I said, what was it like having that awful man as your president in America? And I said, well,
Yeah.
you can't say it was boring. So, anyway, also I'm going to talk about another singer that you may like. And I'll give you a hint. His initials are BM. What is the Gorgeous Georgia? His initials are BM, not Barney Miller, not Bill Maher.
Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow.
He's a really good singer.
You like Barry Manilow?
Yeah.
He is a good singer. You know what's weird about Barry Manilow? He wrote a lot of great songs, but two of the most famous songs he sings, he did not write. He didn't write Mandy, which is pretty much the first big hit he had.
Cabana.
Copacabana he wrote. That's probably his most famous song. But his second song that he had that people remember him from is I Write the Songs.
Oh yeah.
And it was written by, he didn't write the songs. He didn't write that song. The only one who could sing that song is the guy who wrote it, and that's Bruce Johnson of the Beach Boys. He wrote the song. He wrote the song. And then, Barry Manilow, gets a kind of, for a while, got a bad rap as kind of being boring, kind of the middle of the road type singer. But, he's been around a long time now. He's good.
Yeah.
He's not a rock and roll singer, but he would have been a big hit probably in the 50s,
Yeah.
like Johnny Ray or like
Yeah.
Frankie Lane or any of those singers. Because people do like Barry Manilow. Barry Manilow got his start as a Bette Midler's piano player, and that was even when she was starting out in the bathhouses. She used to entertain at bathhouses in New York in the late 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
And Barry Manilow is I saw him when he came to Richmond, and he had big screens, and I think he's taken good care of himself. He's close to 80 years old now, and he's still still has a good voice. Still, there's nothing kind of decrepit about him, and so he's still going strong there. So what do you have to say about Barry Manilow?
I love Barry Manilow. He's a really good singer.
Yeah, and is there any? Do you have any? Have you ever seen him in person or anything?
No, I haven't, but my grandfather said he has.
Oh, he saw him. Okay.
Yeah, my grandfather, I think, saw him in person years ago in concert.
Yeah, I saw him at the Coliseum. I'm not kidding you. I was sort of like hesitant about going to see Barry Manilow. This is probably about 15 years ago, and then they lowered the price of the tickets to $25. I said, "Oh, I gotta go see Barry Manilow."
Yeah.
And then what happened was they still couldn't fill the house, so no matter where you bought your ticket, they moved us to the first level, so we all got good seats there, and so the whole balcony was which is second. If you've been to like a basketball game, think of a basketball game, everyone's on the same level, and it was great to see Barry. And Barry Manilow had a really good jazz album once, or kind of a jazz album in his style. He wrote all the songs for it, and it was. And if you didn't care for Barry Manilow, there were two songs on there. One was with Sarah Vaughan.
Oh.
These were original songs. There's nothing like. And the other one had Mel Torme. And it'd take a genius to figure out that if you were only going to listen to 2 songs on that album, this is the one with Sarah Vaughan and sing a duet with Mel Torme, and then the other one with Sarah Vaughan. But it was a good album, and And then now it seems like all the albums he makes are now a tribute to Fred Astaire, a tribute to Broadway, a tribute to the Hollywood movies or something. So they're all cover songs. Well, he sings those songs quite well.
Yeah.
You know, because everyone likes those songs, and he adds a little something to them.
Yeah.
You know, do you know that a lot of songwriters? I think I told you this. A lot of songwriters, famous songwriters like Irving Berlin and Harold Arlen and stuff. They're all like on talk shows and stuff, and they all ask all the people who sing your songs, you know, like Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra and everything. Who are your favorites? And they all said Fred Astaire.
Okay.
I said Fred, and you know, I think Dick Cavett was on there. Dick Cavett says, Fred Astaire. What's so great about Fred Astaire? He doesn't add anything to the song. And they said, exactly. He sings it exactly how it was written, and that's all we want. We don't need any of these guys to try to make it, to pretend to make it better, make it faster, make it slower, or anything. We write it. He gave it to Fred Astaire. He'd sing it, and as a result, Fred Astaire introduced more popular songs in the 1930s and 40s than anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, when you see an opera singer, you just want the best version of a opera aria or something.
Yeah.
You know, but they, you know, Placido Domingo and Luciano Pavarotti and the other guy, Jose Carreras.
Oh yeah.
They kind of all try to sing it as good as they can. They don't try to change what Puccini or Verdi wrote.
Yeah.
they just, you know, they do the best they can, and sometimes they sound a little, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes they're a little bit better, but they're all good. You know, they're that type of singer. So, tell me, what's the rest of your week look like?
Well, I'm getting ready to do rehearsals this weekend,
Oh, good.
so I got one tonight and one tomorrow.
Do you think there's a part for me in your show? Do they need?
I might be too late now.
Too late for
Yeah.
I'll just sit in the audience and heckle. That'll be part of the show. I'll put my feet up on the stage. I'll sit in the front row. Are you in show business? Get out of here. Get your feet off the stage. Is there any room for Gumby? How about Gumby? Is there any room for Gumby? You remember Gumby?
Yeah.
I used to love Gumby.
I did too. I used to have the little figurines and stuff.
Yes!
Both him and Pokey.
Well, you know, when you bought the figurine of Gumby, he was made of, I guess, rubber or plastic or something.
Yeah.
But I think in reality, when you saw the show, he was made from clay.
Yeah.
And I still don't really know a whole lot about Gumby. Pokey had a horse. And the horse, like, at least I know what a horse is. Gumby, was he a human? Was he an animal? He spoke English. He seemed to roll up in a ball and get But Art Clokey, I think the guy, he was the main puppeteer or whatever it was. It was actually kind of a cool show when you think about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a silly show it was a good show for children. It wasn't a very deep show.
Yeah.
It was a show for like 3-year-olds, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're like 6 years old, 6, 7 years old, you kind of, at least you can understand it.
Yeah.
So Gumby, and I think when you had it, he had like wire in his arms or something, or in his legs, and you could actually twist them into different shapes.
Yeah.
Pokey, you couldn't do too much with. Just make him bow-legged or something.
Yeah.
But Pokey, I think I had a Pokey, but I didn't have the Gumby.
I had both of them.
I think Gumby was more expensive, so we got Pokey.
I had both of them growing up.
I used to try to put Gumby on Pokey.
Yeah.
But Gumby is usually really big compared to Pokey. Pokey is almost like putting him on a puppy or something.
Yeah.
He's going to break the back of this horse. He's going to buckle.
Yeah.
Art Clokey, his inspiration for Gumby was the Puppet Tunes by George Powell, made in the 1930s.
Oh.
And they were pretty wild. There's actually a movie called the Puppet Tunes movie. And I think Gumby actually, in the introduction, introduces as the this was the inspiration for the Gumby character. Gumby was syndicated. I don't think it was a national show. So if you're a local kids television show, there used to be a lot of kids shows. We should do a kids show.
Yeah.
Show for children.
Yeah,
like Romper Room.
that'd be cute. Yeah.
I appeared on a few of those shows when I was a kid. The Bozo Show, Sailor Bob Show, the Dandy Beagle and Superdog Show. I was on these kids shows, and they were local. They were made in Richmond, and then when I got so full of myself after I must have been like 6, 7 years old. I got so full. Okay, I want to be on all the kids shows now. Next one, Captain Kangaroo. And Dad said, "Well, I'm not going to take you to New York to be on that show." Because you mean it's not a local show? They don't make it in here in town. He goes, no, that's in New York. And not only that, Dad said, I've seen Captain Kangaroo. There are no kids on Captain Kangaroo. Even though it's a kid's show, you never see children on it. And you want to be the first one on there? I said, yeah. Way to get a load of me. I'm still looking forward to the day that they put me on Survivor or some show like that, because it doesn't matter whether I win or not. It'd be like putting Robin Williams or somebody on Survivor. The people won't stop laughing. It would be so funny.
Yeah.
Although I'd probably, because of this woke cancel culture or something, I'll probably say something that gets me kicked off the show after the second episode. And there blows my chance.
Yeah.
Speaking of Survivor, you know what they should do in Survivor?
What?
The show's been on like about 40 different run-throughs of it. It's over 20 years, so there's been like 43 shows, 43 run-throughs. They should have like 20. They should have done this when there was just 20. Take the first person voted off of each run-through, and then put them all on the next show and see which one of those people that voted off first. I remember once on the Gong Show, they did a show where they had the people who won the Gong Show, and they all went in like a tournament of champions type of thing. But then they took all the people that were gonged, that they put them on one episode. And of course, at the end of the show, they were gonged the second time. There was no winner. So they didn't get the $500 prize.
Yeah.
And 42 cents, whatever it was. Hey, thank you for inviting me to be on your show today.
No problem. And thank you all for tuning in. May God bless you all.
What's the name of the show again?
Well,
I forgot already. It is called the
Mary Elizabeth Jones Variety Hour.
Mary Elizabeth Jones Variety Hour. Mary Elizabeth Jones, Barrel of Monkeys.
Yep. Thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in again. God bless you all.
You should open up your own restaurant. Mary Elizabeth's Bar and Grill. Mary Elizabeth's Delicatessen. We talk about food so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. God bless you. Take care.